Hi, today we are in Palo Alto with Totango. Guy, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Guy Nirpaz. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Totango. We started a company a few years ago in Israel, in Tel Aviv. And then I moved over here and we opened the US office here. And Totango is a data-driven customer success platform.
What did you do before you started this company?
So I've been in startups for many years, not as a founder, but I worked as a VP of engineering and products at a big data company called Gigaspaces, in-memory distributed computing. I worked at Mercury for a few years. I worked at IBM and some other startups in Israel before.
And how did you come up with the idea of Totango? And what made you change from being an VP, like an employee, to becoming your own entrepreneur?
Yeah, so my career is a little bit different. I mean, in Israel, you have to go to the army, and I've spent 6 years in the army. I was an officer, so I kind of volunteered to lead and to have kind of relatively a lot of responsibility over people. And then I wanted to, for a few years, just be very professional about what I do. So I had a lot of, before even taking a VP role, I had a lot of individual contributor positions where I kind of learned the ins and outs of this business. I've been always technological, but was technological in sales and engineering and products, and then a VP. But I always had this kind of. I usually describe it as I was really motivated by mountains that people put in front of me, saying, "Okay, nobody can get into this top of this mountain. Do you think you can do it?" I'd say, "Okay, fine. I'm coming with you. I'm gonna do it." And then I realized that these are not my mountains, so I decided to, define my own mountain and go and climb it.
Great. Let's talk about the business model. How is Totango working right now, and have there been any major changes in the business model?
So Totango is a SaaS business. It's a subscription business. We create and we provide a customer success solution. It's basically enables other subscription businesses to drive retention growth within their customer base. It's a data heavy solution. It looks at how people are actually using the product and other dimensions of the customer base, and creates actionable insights, health scores, so companies can get ahead of the curve, identify which customer needs attention, and provide them the required attention. So we provide subscription business. It's a SaaS business model. We sell both inbound and outbound. So we outreach to our potential market, and we also get a lot of inbound inquiries, and we show them the product. In many cases, we showcase it, which means that there's a kind of an early POC that companies can actually try on their own customer base, and then we support them and grow them furthermore.
When you started, how did you acquire the first customers, and was it that easy?
In retrospect, it was relatively easy, but nothing is very easy in startups. So we started a company, me and Omer Gottlieb, and then Oren Raboy joined us as a founding team of Totango. And I think the first customers were local customers, so a company like Cleverism that operated out of Israel. It was I would say the most dominant SaaS company in Israel. We went and talked to their management team to learn about the requirements. Later on, Omer really pushed hard on LinkedIn, and kind of was able to get some meetings with executives at Zendesk and Keynote Systems and other very early customers of ours. And you will find, and I found that people receive very well new ideas if they make sense, and they're willing to experiment, and these are kind of the classical early adopters, and we operate in an early adopter market, so that's how we acquired the first few customers. We've worked with them to develop the product, so we really kind of thought ourselves as a lean startup in a way that we've developed an MVP and kind of released it and tried with the customers to get some feedback, and iterated ever since. So that's how we keep on doing, right? I mean, we try to identify a problem a customer has. We try to come up with an innovative solution for it. We build an MVP, we release it, we get the feedback, and we do the adaptations to meet the customer's requirements.
Okay, great. When you say that you're trying to help your customers in terms of customer success, what are the major criteria for identifying a potential customer that needs more attention? And are you also providing some kind of specific actions that your customer should do? Yeah,
that's a very good question. So I think it all starts with really being able to know more about your customers, right? What are they trying to accomplish? And are they actually accomplishing it? And there are multiple metrics. One of them, which is critical, is their level of adoption and usage of a product. Because everyone is busy, and if they're not using a product, probably they have other priorities, meaning that your product is not really delivering to their satisfaction. So the first challenge is to get the right sensors into your customer, and it's what they do in your product, and how often, and what is the breadth of usage, and also other dimensions of customer information, for example, support tickets, and CRM information, billing information, marketing information, and so forth. So aggregating all this data and turning that into real assets that can be managed, right? It needs to be actionable, it needs to be meaningful, it needs to be relevant, right? It needs to be accurate and right. And we call this part the early warning system part, which helps you identify which customer needs your attention at the right point in time that you can actually make an impact. And then, of course, it's taking the action and making the required changes. If they're a customer that is struggling to onboard, help them out and remove friction, help them kind of get into a happy place. If it's a customer that is a positive scenario, that they're exceeding the expectation, so talk to them about the next steps and get them to next level of adoption, and so forth. So it's a combination of the early warning system, which lets you know which customer needs your attention and why, and then a set of operationalization capabilities to actually take the next step and take the action.
And the data, is it very unique for each and every customer? So you meaning that you need to set up all your kind of database and analytics, etc., for each specific client, or is the client making the connection between his database and your kind of algorithm, or how does it work?
So we think about this as a network of sensors, right? So the first sensor is into how people are using your product, and we use technologies that are common, like JavaScript or SDKs within the mobile toolkits. They integrate with how people are actually using your product and sending this information into Totango. We also have a very wide set of connectors to other customer systems that kind of captures more information. We've just kind of introduced last week the Universal Integration Hub, which kind of makes it very easy to integrate more data sources into Totango. The question that you've asked is how unique is the data? So I would say the classes of data are not unique. I mean, usage data, support data, CRM data, marketing data, these are the classes. The specifics are different, and every business is different, and that's kind of what's one of the key elements of Totango is that we help customers take those classes of data and to turn it into information that makes sense for their own business, right? So in one product, it's about how many projects you've created. In another product, it's about how much time do you spend on the system and who do you integrate with or who do you interact with. So that's how it works.
Great. Let's talk about corporate strategy, Guy. Your value proposition is clearly understood, so you're helping your customers understanding their customers better so they can manage them better over the life cycle, or the customer life cycle. But what is your difference or differentiator over competitors who are doing similar things?
The core of Totango, where it all started, is under the assumption that every user and every customer goes through a very individual journey, right? And the objective today of companies is to make sure that the journey of every user and every customer is successful, right? And everyone starts, and then at some point needs to get very quickly to a point of value, and then there needs to be kind of repetitive value, and then over time the value needs to grow. And that's kind of unique to every user, and it's unique for every business. And this is the approach we're taking, and the product is actually models that exactly, which helps you know exactly which user and which account needs your attention, specifically where they are and what needs to be done in order to drive them further. Of course, there are commonalities, there are kind of rules that you can apply to a segment of customers and so forth, But looking at that from an individual experience is what's unique about Totango. So we've spent the first few years of the product is really being able to build a very, I would say, accurate mapping of every user and every customer journey. So now it's much easier to take the next action, and we feel it's like in other parts of life. If you really know what's going on, then the actions that you're taking are more obvious, right? If you don't know, then you're guessing and you're kind of shooting at a very wide range, and you may hit or you may miss. So that's kind of very unique approach that we've taken from day one. And I think also these days everyone talks about big data and predictive analytics and so forth. But basically, what it means is that you can, if you do the right, if you take the right set of data sets and at the right sampling rate, right? I mean, the sensor needs to be relevant if it samples in every day or every hour or every minute, and you turn this into something which any human being can understand. So it's not, it was very important for us from the get-go to make sure that Totango is going to be used by the front office team, by the customer success managers, by the VPs, by the executive team, by the product team, and not just by the analysts, right? And I think that's very kind of very, very unique. So taking kind of very fine-grained level of data and transforming that into information that end users, that our business users can consume, that's our strategy.
So this means that in comparison to your competitors, you are using individual data sets or understanding the individual life cycle, and the others don't.
I think there are multiple different approaches that we're seeing in the market. One approach is saying something like, this could be overwhelming, it's too complex, we should work with aggregated data only because we cannot transform that into information that is relevant for people. Mm-hmm. And some people find this approach very appealing. The problem with that is, on the surface, it looks good, right? But what happens if your customer is being colored as green and they cancel, 2 weeks later? Mm-hmm. Or what happens if you don't have the fidelity of the changes within the customer base in a way that you can actually make an impact? There's a big difference if a customer got into a problematic situation and you are responding within 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, it becomes almost irrelevant, right? If the customer had a negative situation, let's say a very bad experience, you had a glitch in your product and someone was trying to use your product for 2 consecutive days and had some very negative experience. If you identify that and you proactively reach out and you try to kind of to apologize and to kind of fix the bad experience, you're going to get a much higher reward than responding to that 8 weeks later, and the customer believes that you're only calling them because they're kind of a month pre-renewal or something like that.
And are you matching your kind of actionable insights with their CRM system so that automatically some messages are going out based on some kind of results or so? Yeah,
so I think the early warning system needs to be thought as the first is identifying which customer needs your attention, and now the engagement model. One engagement model is we tap people on the shoulder, right? There's alerts, and then they take action. It's individual actions or human-driven actions, and some of that could be triggered and funneled all the way through to automated workflows, right? Create an automated support ticket, or send an email, or in-application communication, or and it really much depends on how much do you want to codify your engagement with customers, and how much of that you still want the human intervention to be the human to be part of the person to be part of the experience.
Okay, how did you come up with the name Totango?
So the source of the name, it takes two to tango, which kind of goes to show that even from the get-go, we were really thinking about this kind of relationship between the customer and the vendor, and that this relationship requires a little bit more delicate understanding and synchronization between how customers are and businesses are working. The days in which you could throw products off the fence, or get the commission on the sales and now go to the to celebrate in the club, these days are gone, and customers have much higher expectations. They have choice. And that's a good thing. It's good for everyone. It's also good for the vendors. It keeps everyone on their toes to make sure that we focus on creating value to customers every day. And that means that the products that we develop, the services that we create, are actually being consumed and are actually meaningful and helpful for other companies or other people. So I think this is all good.
Great. Let's talk about the market development. So how do you perceive the market development maybe in SaaS or in customer success in general?
So I think the first market for customer success, that's only the first one, is SaaS companies. And the reason is that these companies usually sell subscription businesses, relatively very low switching costs, and also early adopters, right? So these are the companies that from the get-go wire themselves into, we need to acquire customers, but at the same time we need to retain and grow the customer base. So that's the first market for customer success, and we're actually seeing this happening today. But I think this is just the early innings of the market. It's going to grow way beyond just the SaaS market for various reasons. One is subscription in general is being adopted as a more, or subscription repeat buy, focus on the maximizing customer lifetime value seems to be the trend that a lot of kind of other businesses are going with. Secondly, software is eating the world. Internet of Things, whatever trend you want to call it, we know more about our customers. Everything has either is fully virtualized, like music, or is virtually enabled, right? So there are some sensors that are connected to how people are actually consuming products. So with that, it means two things. One is that businesses have to focus on retaining customers and maximizing lifetime value. The second thing, there are huge opportunities to know so much more about your customers. And my underlying belief is that businesses that will know more about their customers and will care about their customer will actually deliver higher value and higher results for their customers. So that is just kind of a trend that we're seeing coming up in other markets as well.
So from my understanding, e-commerce might be the next logical step. For example, if I know I delivered a package 2 days later, I could automatically send some kind of discount voucher, whatever, or try to contact the people or mitigate this kind of problem.
So yes, I agree with you. I'm not sure if e-commerce necessarily is the immediate next one, but obviously we're seeing, for example, Amazon implementing some sort of services like that already. And one of the experiences that I'm kind of really fan of is that if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber and you've been trying to watch, I was amazed by that. I was watching an HD movie on Amazon Prime, and the next day I got an email from Amazon saying you're refunded for the movie because you didn't experience 100% HD. Right? So think about it, right? They know what was the experience that I was expecting. I was even unaware of the fact that there were like 2 minutes on the movie that were in full HD, but they've identified this through their operating system, and this is the sensor, right? They sense that, and then they've created an automated action that turned the experience into a very positive experience, because now I know this company cares about my experience. So, I'm probably going to watch another movie with Amazon while I have so many other options in front of me, right? So I think this is just the beginning of a revolution that we're seeing pockets of it across the industry, but it's going to go way, way beyond that. And when we think about this, I don't know if you are aware of that, but if you look at some kind of metrics in the market, if we look at the LinkedIn groups of customer success, we're seeing 100 people joining customer success groups every week for the past 2 years, right? Over 100 people. It's unbelievably amazing, the number of people. So yes, I know some of them are people that are transitioning from more traditional customer service functions like support folks or professional services, but a lot of others are coming for that from a completely different angle. How can I create more value to my customers? I have an option to do this in a very scalable way as being the head of products or being part of the product team, but I can also do this as part of the product of the customer success team, which is the same concept.
Great. Let's talk about your advice to first-time entrepreneurs. I know you have a very entrepreneurial daughter. Can you tell us a little bit about what she did and what advice you would give her when she starts a company?
I have two kids that that right now I can actually have adult conversations with. One of them is my older son is more of a marketing person, and the question that he asks me are, so what's your real differentiator? I mean, why would customers select you and not your competitor? And interestingly enough, my daughter came to me last week and asked me, how did you start Totango? What do I need to do to start a company like that? And that's really kind of interesting question, and I like the fact that they're growing here in Silicon Valley and actually being exposed to entrepreneurial spirit. Israel was the same, but here it's even the magnitude is even higher. So my advice is just agree between yourself that this is what you want to do and just do it, and no inhibitions, right? Meaning like I first need to get my salary, or if you want to do it, just do it, and then figure out everything else. When Omer and I started, we deliberately first quit our jobs, and then we sat down to say, okay, what are we going to do next? Because I wanted to have this experience of back against the wall to come up with something. I don't know if it works for everyone, but for me it worked great.
And what have been your major mistakes, or something that you said, okay, this was totally wrong, I would have done this different today?
I think the biggest mistakes that you could have is not willing to face the truth. And not willing to face the truth is ask for money on the first day that you sell the product or something like that, right? Because the only time, this is just one example, is those things which are concrete that face you with the cruel world of, I want $50,000 for this product. I'm not going to pay you more than $500. Okay, where's the gap? And if you go and do that, then you are able to identify the gap of what's missing in my product, what are the features that are missing, where's the market, and so forth. And they're just kind of on sales. I think these are the what I'm trying to do, where I feel that I've improved as an entrepreneur, is really being able to grow a thick skin, face the truth, and then work on it, versus sliding away the facts that you don't really like and trying to come up with a different explanation that in many cases just kind of delays the inevitable, and instead of taking the action immediately, you take the action a little bit longer down the road, and just a waste of opportunity. So my advice, just face the truth every day and take action in accordance.
Great. Thank you very much, Guy, for your time. And next time you are dancing with your partner, maybe in tango, think of the tango.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Guy.